I don't know what happened to me or one day it was the same or not the same, I don't care about it. But I was really afraid for dying and also not being able to breathe anymore. And as soon as I feel something coming up like that, I'm scared to death.
Yes, that prevented the possibility of the physical body going through the process of actual physical dying. The body has to go through it because every thought that everybody felt before you, every experience that everybody experienced before you, every feeling that everybody felt before you, all that is part of your being. So you can't come into your own unless the whole thing is completely and totally flushed out, if I may use that word, out of your system. See, that is something which you cannot do or make it happen uh, with any effort or volition of yours. So when the time comes, you see, you may not have asked for it, you see. You may not have asked for it. You would never ask for the end of you as you know yourself, as you experience yourself. Sometimes it does happen, you see. So the fear of something coming to an end, the fear of what you know, as yourself and as you experience yourself, prevented the possibility of the whole thing snapping out there. You see, and you are lucky enough, you see, that would have happened and the whole thing would have fallen into its natural rhythm, which is discontinuous and disconnected. See, that is the way, see, the thought functions. There is no continuity of thought. And the only way it can maintain its continuity is through the constant demand for experiencing the same thing over and over and over again. So what is there is the knowledge you have about yourself and about the world around you. And the world around you is not quite different from the world you have created for yourself inside of you. I want to give a talk. So, what you are frightened of is not you, but that movement of thought is frightened of is the continuity coming to an end.
Yes.
So, it is interested in finding out, or it projects, you see, always the fear, you see.
When I was 2, I also drowned.
Yes.
And I couldn't get air.
Yes.
So I think that's an excuse.
True, but you see, it's not an easy thing, to go through that. It's a tremendous effort on your part to prevent the whole of thing being sucked into something like a vacuum cleaner, You see, the whole of your energy, everything that is there, is drawn into something like, sucking everything that is there into this sort of vacuum cleaner. See, that's a very frightening situation. So the fear is its protective mechanism. The fear is the protective mechanism.
I see.
So the physical fear is altogether different. The physical fear is very simple, you see. The physical fear is there only for the survival of the living organism. So you have, through your thinking and experiences, built on the foundation of the physical fear, which is essential for survival, what you call is a psychological fear. The fear of what you know coming to an end. So the body knows that, it is immortal. I very deliberately use the word immortal because nothing there comes to an end. See, the way it is put together, when what you call clinical death takes place, it breaks itself into its constituent elements. That's all that happens. You see, so it may not reconstitute again and create. You see, the body, which is which is which you think is yours, and at the same time, see, when once it breaks itself into its constituent elements, it provides the basis for the continuity of life. So it may not be of any consolation or great feeling of happiness to the individual who is dying, but this becomes, you see, the food for the millions and millions of bacteria. You know that? So even assuming for a moment that you resort to the cremation, as they do in some countries, the carbon which is the resultant of the burnt body provides, you see, the basis for something coming out of the earth. You know, it's some tiny little flower coming out of the earth, where you see you dump all this, you know, the ashes. So nothing here is lost. So when there is actually a physical danger, the danger of the extinction of your physical body, which you think is yours, then everything that it has at its resources throws into that situation and tries to survive in that particular moment. I don't know if you have ever noticed, when there is a real physical danger, your thinking mechanism is never there to help you. Never there. So you can plan ahead, you see, of every possible situation and be prepared to meet every kind of a situation in your life, but actually when there is a physical danger, all your planning and all your all that you have thought about, you see, to be prepared to meet every kind of a danger in every kind of a situation, it is just not there. So it has to fall back on its own resources. So if for some reason it cannot renew itself and survive in that particular situation, it goes merrily and gracefully. So it knows nothing is lost. So this living organism is not interested in the continuity in terms of years. So this is functioning from moment to moment. You see, so all these, the religious people who are trying to interpret the religious texts in terms of living from moment to moment, is a thought-induced state of mind, you see. So the sensory perceptions function from moment to moment. There is no continuity of your physical seeing, there is no continuity of your physical hearing, there is no continuity of your smelling, there is no continuity when you eat something, there is no continuity in the sensory thing called the sense of touch. You see, they are all disconnected and disjointed. But the thought, in its interest to maintain itself and to continue without any interruption, demands these experiences all the time. You see, that is the only way it can maintain its continuity. You know, so the body functions in a completely different way, and it is not interested in the activity of the thought. The only thought that is necessary for this body is the thought that it has to use for the survival of the living organism. Even, you see, if you do not feed this body, it is not concerned about it. You see. So it has a certain resources which you have built up, you see, through years of your eating. It falls back and lives on it. When that is finished, it goes. So for a day or two, probably you feel the hunger tantrums. At the same time, you regularly eat. But the body is not really concerned whether you feed the body or not you feed the body. So at the same time, it is foolish and perverse not to feed the body. hoping that, you see, will attain some spiritual goals. That's what they do in India. They put the body through all kinds of stresses and strains, torture it, because they feel that through this um, endurance, they will be able to achieve whatever their spiritual goals may be. So you see, there is nothing that you can do to make that happen through any will of yours, through any effort of yours, through any volition of yours. So that is the reason why I always maintain that if this kind of a thing happens, it is not something mysterious. You see, the thought falling into its natural rhythm of discontinuous and disconnected functioning. That's all. That's all that is there. So then thought is in harmony with the sensory perceptions, the activity of the senses. So there is no conflict there, there is no struggle there, there is no pain there. There is a harmonious relationship between the two. Whenever there is a need for thought, that thought is always there to act, you see. So the act that this body is interested in is only the action that is essential for the survival of the living organ. It's not interested in any ideas you have about, you see, your religious goals or material goals. It's not at all interested. So there is always, you see, this constant battle between these two things. So the thought is not something mysterious, which is what the culture has put in there, which is, of course, society. They are not different, culture and society. And the society is interested in continuity, in permanence. It is interested in status quo. So it is all the time maintaining that status quo. So that is where the thought is helpful for the society. And it says if you don't act that way, if you don't think that way, you become, you see, antisocial, because all your actions will become, you see, thoughtless, impulsive actions. So it is interested in channeling every thought of yours in that particular direction which maintains the status quo of the society. So that's why there is basically, essentially, and fundamentally a conflict between these two. The culture, which is not yours, which is not mine, but we have adopted that, accepted that, to use it as a means of survival. That's all. So that has a momentum of its own, totally unrelated to it. As long as you use that, so long you are not an individual at all. You can become an individual only when you break away from the totality of that wisdom. So there is no such thing as your mind or my mind. Maybe there is such a thing as the world mind, it's where all the cumulative knowledge and the experiences thereof is accumulating and passed on from generation to generation. So we have to use that to function in this world sanely and intelligently. If we don't use it, you see, as I was saying the other day, we will end up in, a funny form and sing the Looney Tunes and merry melodies. So you don't want to become part of the society, you give up, you see, there, and that's the end of you. And the society is still interested, you see, in fitting every individual into that framework and maintaining its continuity. I don't want to give a talk. So I don't know if I have made myself clear. That's the reason why I'm all the time emphasizing the physical aspect, you see, and not with the idea of selling out something, you see, but to emphasize this and express it in what you call enlightenment, is liberation, moksha, mutation, transformation, only in pure and simple physical and physiological, you see, both same physical and physiological, but to emphasize, I use those two words, physical and physiological terms, and there is absolutely no religious content to it and no mystical overtones or undertones to this functioning of the body. But unfortunately for centuries they have interpreted the whole thing in some religious terms, and that has created the misery for us all. So the more you try to revive or see, push it through the back door when there is no interest in the religious life of the man, you are only adding more and more to the misery. So I'm not interested in propagating this. You see, this is not something which you can make it happen, nor is it possible for me to create that, you see, hunger which is essential to understand anything, you know. So uh, I repeat this again and again, but repetition has its own charm. um, you see, you are assuming for a moment that you are hungering from spiritual attainments, and you're all the time reaching out to reach your goal. And so you see, naturally, you see that there are so many people, you see, in the marketplace, ugly saints, selling all kinds of shoddy piece of spiritual goods. For whatever reason they are doing it, it's not our concern. But they are doing it, you see. They say it is for the welfare of mankind, you see, and then you see they do it out of compassion for mankind and all that kind of a thing. All that is bullshit anyway. So what I'm trying to say is that you are satisfied, see, with the crumbs they throw at you, and they promise that one day they are going to deliver you a full loaf of bread. That's just a promise. They cannot deliver the goods at all. They just don't have it, So they can only cut it into pieces and distribute it to the people. And when people ask me some questions, you see, I answer in a very funny way the question about Jesus, materializing loaves of bread. I said, and repeat it, that he did not materialize loaves and loaves of bread, but he just cut whatever bread was there available into small bits and distributed it, you see, to everybody there. Naturally, you want to attribute some miracles and all kinds of things. But what I'm trying to say is that hunger has got to burn itself out. Every day I'm saying the same thing, but using different words, you see, putting these things in different places. That's all that I can do. My vocabulary is very, very limited, so I have to use the words again and again and emphasize the same thing all over again to point out that the hunger, if there is, you see, to find out for yourself and by yourself, it has to burn itself out, So there is no use feeding yourself with all this kind of junk food, you see, There is no use of your waiting, you see, for something to happen to satisfy your hunger. So there is no point in satisfying that hunger. The hunger has to burn itself out. Literally it has to burn itself out. Not the physical. Even physical hunger has to burn itself out so that the physical death can take place. So that just the way you feel thirsty, you are satisfied with these dozens of quench thirsters that they are advertising, Pepsi Cola, Coca-Cola, Fanta, God knows what. You see, all of them. So they are all supposed to be the thirst quenchers, but they really do not do anything there. The thirst for it has to burn itself out. Actual dehydration of the body takes place. Thank God the physical body has certain things to protect itself when a physical dehydration takes place. I don't know if you have meditated for hours and hours. The whole body reaches a point where the dehydration takes place. Then you have these lifesavers there, you see, in your body, the saliva. There is a profuse saliva coming out, you see, to quench your thirst and save you in that particular situation. When you push this body to do certain things, through meditation, through yoga, all kinds of things people do, overdo these things. So there is one thing that I'm emphasizing all the time, you see, it is not because of what you do or what you do not do that this kind of a thing happens, and why it happens to one individual and not another. There is no answer to that question. I assure you that it is not the man who has prepared himself, you see, or purified himself for whatever reason to be ready, you see, to receive that kind of a thing. It is the other way around, you see. So it hits, you know, it hits at random. That is the way the nature operates. Lightning hits you somewhere, you see, it is not interested, you see, whether it is hitting, you see, a tree that is blooming, or if it has fruits, it is helping, you see, the people in providing shade, etc. But it just hits at random in exactly the same way. It, it is, it happens to a particular individual, and that happening is acausal. Acausal. It has no cause. There are so many things happening in nature which have no, which cannot be attributed to any particular cause. So you were interested in studying the lives of the people, or the biographies of those people you think who are enlightened or godmen or some such thing, is to find out, you see, a clue as to how it happened, you see, to them, so that you can use that, you see, whatever technique they use, then make it happen to you. That's all. That is the interest. You see, those people are giving you some techniques, some systems, some methods, which don't work at all. They create the hope that somehow, through some miracle, one day, you see, it is going to happen to you, but it will never happen. So I have said my my piece. And I have to repeat this again and come to it from 10 different angles, depending upon the nature of questions which you throw at me, but all questions are exactly the same as I said yesterday. Because the questions spring from the answers you already have. You know, the answers given by others are not really the answers. I am not giving any answers to you. See, if I am foolish enough to give you the answers, you have to understand that, you see, this is the very answer which you think is the answer, is destroying the possibility of that question disappearing. You know, you have to take my word. I don't care if you take my word or not, that such questions never occur to me. You know, I have no questions of any kind except the questions I need to ask somebody. See, where can I rent a car? What is the quickest way to go to Brussels? And you see, such questions, you know, which way to Rotterdam, this road or that road, that's all. You see, there are people always to help you. But those questions have no answers. You see, when this dawns on you, such questions have no answers. Huh? And as a matter of fact, those questions spring from the answers you already have. So what is necessary in that situation is the complete and total blasting, you see, of the answers that you have. That is something which you cannot make it happen. It is not in your hands. So the situation is, you think is hopeless, but it is not hopeless. The hope is here. See, the hope is not there. You are waiting for something to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow nothing will happen. Whatever has to happen, that has got to happen, you see, now. And the possibility of that happening now is practically and well nigh impossible, because the instrument which you are using is the past. So unless the past comes to an end, there can't be any present. The now, the present moment. And that present moment is something which cannot be captured by you, cannot be experienced by you. You see? So even assuming for a moment that the past has come to an end, you have no way of knowing that it has come to an end. You see, so then there is no future for you at all. Hmm? There may be a future tomorrow, you will become boss of your company in which you are working, I don't know. The school teacher becomes the head of the institution and professor becomes the dean. You see, that possibility is there, but you have to put in a lot of struggle, that takes time. So you are applying the same technique, you see. That is the only thing, that instrument which you are using to realize whatever you are interested in, and so it puts it there in the future. So it has produced tremendous results in this world. So how can that instrument be not the instrument to achieve your spiritual goals, if there are any spiritual goals you have before them? So that is not the instrument, obviously, because you have tried, you have done everything possible. Even those who are burning with hunger, they find it, you see, it's impossible, In India, everybody, you see, tried this. You won't believe that, you see. Not one was lucky enough. So whenever such a thing happened, it happened to those people uh, who had given up completely and totally all their search. That's an absolute requisite for that kind of a thing. The whole movement has to slow down, you see, and come to a stop. But anything you do to make it stop is only adding momentum to it. That's really the crux of the problem. So what you are interested in doesn't exist. It's your own imagination based upon the knowledge you have about those things. And so there is nothing that you can do about it. You are chasing something that does not exist at all. I can say that, you see, until the cows return home. I don't know when they return home here for the kingdom come, but that kingdom will never come. So you keep on going, hoping that somehow, you see, you will find some way of achieving your goal. So your interest in attaining that for the purpose of solving your day-to-day problems is a far-fetched idea, because that cannot be of any help to you to solve your problems.